just putting the microphone back on here. The last episode, Monkey only went and forgot to press record as well, everybody. On the pristine level of professionalism today. And it can only be Margie's fault, of course. Oh, look, and it's echoing in the background as well. Shit. God, Jesus. It's one of them days today, everybody. Here's some music, just one track of music. There we go. We're back in 2 minutes. Yes, everybody. Welcome to High on Homegrown, the Cannabis podcast from PercysGrowRoom.com. I am Mackie from the UK, and joining us this week, we have Monkey Doo.
Hey everybody, Monkey down here in the Southeast US, enjoying this beautiful weather down here. Wet, cool, nasty, all that good stuff today. Hope everybody's doing well and has something nice to smoke on.
Nice. I see that for professional intro, everybody. See, that's nice, professional. Unfortunately, March isn't here, as we discussed in the Cannabis news. She's taking her friend to the airport.
Yeah, Bubble's still out in the middle of nowhere, as far as we know.
But it is us, Monkey and I, who is going to be talking about grow room safety today, regarding electrical and fire safety and things like that. Just to make sure everybody's staying safe in the grow room and not taking any unnecessary risks.
I could try to make the joke out of it, but, safety is really, we shouldn't joke about that part of it,
Yes, like safety third, did you say a few weeks ago?
Yeah,
safety third.
That's an old gag that somebody else came up with. Yeah, safety third. For first rule is see the second rule. Second rule is see the third rule. Third rule is safety. So it's always safety third.
It's just one of those things. When you're young, you don't care so much about the whole safety thing because you think you're invincible. As you get older and you get wiser and you have more accidents, you're a little bit more cautious with things.
Yeah,
it is important. Don't overlook these things, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's smoke some weed first. Let's get a little bit high.
One thing that made me actually start looking at safety a little different, you probably could relate to this too, is when I started having kids. I had a reason to have to stay alive now.
Yeah.
Got to stay healthy enough so I can play with my kids, and I need to stay alive to make sure that they're good. So definitely changed the way I used to do things. Not that I was that unsafe at any given time.
Yeah, just the longevity. I heard a saying a few weeks ago where it was like a man lives two lives, and he starts living his first one when he starts living his second one when he realizes he only has one life, something like that. Yeah, it's quite an interesting quote. As you get older and you realize this is the only life you're gonna get. There's no retakes. And you start doing things a little bit differently.
Well, yeah, you do. And also when you realize that also brings into your train of thought the mortality. It's like Hey, you can't put off stuff forever if you ever want to get it done. You better go ahead and get it done now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Like going to Cannabis and stuff like that, you know?
I was just was
Got to
thinking
do it now. You can't put it off forever.
ads factor in the chat there, so it just takes longer to heal as you get older. I know that feeling as well.
Dang right, man.
Just a little cut lasts for a week. You're like, what the fuck is this still doing here? Is it ever gonna heal now? Is this me forever?
When you were a kid, it's like, okay, you get a cut on a finger today, and 2 days later, it's like, well, small red mark left. That's it. And it's like, wow.
Wow. Anyway, yeah, random.
I could
tangent.
remember broken bones would heal in like 3-4 weeks. Broken bones, and now it's like, oh, geez, when you're a kid, everything heals fast.
Mm-hmm. Broken bones now don't heal. Too old for that. In the caveman days, would have just died if he broke a leg now. Yeah, so safety is going to be the topic for today. So just checking out who's out here in the chat. Thanks for joining us. We've hit record this time, everybody. Don't worry. Don't worry. We got to the end of the show there and realised the record button hadn't been pressed. Oops. But I can fix it. Don't worry. There will still be news tomorrow. Yeah. Where did Monkey go? You still there, Monkey?
Of course I'm here.
Oh, you was on mute. I thought he was on mute.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, so with that, I mean, is there anything else to add here? With the grow guides, you can go back and check out all of the previous episodes because this is episode 94, everybody. So that's a whole lot of episodes, man.
Now, I do remember a long time ago we had talked about grow room safety and electrical stuff like that. But man, that's a long.
Yeah,
and it may have been
actually season 1.
It was
kind of thing.
Yeah, it was probably something like a combined episode of something else besides safety. So good that we're going to go ahead and break it out by itself this time.
Yeah, because it's an important one, I think should we move to the grow guides? Are you ready to go to the main meat of it? Let's do it.
I'm fine with it. Let's do it.
Let's go. There's nothing worse than having your grow room burned down.
I don't know.
Pretty
I've
simple,
never had it
right?
burned down, but that would suck.
Having your door kicked off and the old bill coming and taking all your shit, that's bad. It's bad. But, having the old bill at your house because it got set fire to because of some shoddy equipment. So you got the fire, the police, everybody there because
that's the worst part.
Yeah, because you didn't take electrical and fire safety seriously, and you need to.
Mm-hmm. You do.
It's better to be extra cautious. You don't ever want this kind of shit to happen, man. And you see it happen. It happened to one of the members over at Percy's recently. That's been around for a while because he just had bad times, man. There was a fire in his house. I'm not sure whether it was his grow room related or anything like that, but he had a house fire, and it's devastating.
Oh yeah.
And in the back of your mind, as a grower, as a home grower, I think in the back of everybody's mind, it's a concern that always just sits there niggling in the background,
Yeah, it does, and for me at least, it keeps me a little bit more honest because if I have a little bit of a question about should I really do it this way, well, if I'm questioning, if I'm asking myself, I already answered the question.
Don't cut any corners when it comes to safety, man. It's just
do
not
not.
worth it. Yeah.
No, not at all. I definitely do not want to be calling fire department and finding, the fire was started in a grow tent and that smell is burning. Oh, the burning cannabis plants that were in the tent. That's the smell. No, I don't want that. We were talking about the other day how people in legal areas, how they may not appreciate the fact that they actually could call emergency services, but us in prohibition land, we got to do it all ourselves if we can. So safety, guys, is very, very important.
So I think the first thing we should start with here is the simple one. If you're dealing with hydroponics, with all this water, even when you're dealing with soil, because you're watering plants as well, there's a certain rule which you need to stick to, which is anything with water in stays below the waist, and anything electrical stays above the waist. And
electricity and water do not mix.
That's right.
Yeah, if they do mix, it's not going to be a good mix.
No, very dangerous, man. And not only is it dangerous, but it'll break your fucking equipment as well. A simple spillage can ruin your shit, man. So make sure that anything electrical is above the waist, and anything with water in it is below the waist, and you shouldn't have the problem of then to cross it over. Then it's just a simple thing, Don't leave extension cables laying on the floor. Don't leave plugs on the floor. Don't leave electrical equipment on the floor when it could potentially get damaged if there is a leak. Just that kind of thing. Be careful, man. Be careful.
Better to do it that way. Better safe than sorry. But yeah, I'm all with you there. Now, sometimes you have to put equipment down low, but you got to do what you got to do. Like if you're trying to get a fan down low near your seedlings to get a little bit of a breeze down there. So that fan might be below waist, but yeah. So sometimes you'll have to stretch that rule a little bit.
Yeah.
But as low as you have to put it, but again, high as you can put it.
Yeah.
Confusing, isn't it?
Well, you just use common sense,
Yeah. Now, it doesn't really bother me to put a fan down low if that happens, but one rule that I absolutely have is all extension cords, plug-ins, any kind of an outlet, always at the top of the tent. And plug it in high, let the cord run low. That way, all of my connections are always going to be out of the water no matter what. I would have to have 5 feet of water in my tent before I'd have a problem there. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
definitely
that's
not
the way it needs to be, something like that. And then you just know it's not going to happen. You got that extra peace of mind then, but just going to have shit set on fire or go sparky because it's fallen into some water or something.
Yeah, and in order to try and follow that rule about don't keep that voltage out of the water situation, if I have to have a fan on the physical floor of the grow tent with seedlings or something like that, I usually use a low voltage 12-volt fan, because that's not going to cause an electrical fire. It's not going to shock me or anything. DC 5-volt or 12-volt fan is fine. The adapter can be high. I can run the low voltage down low, and it's safe that way. So anytime I have to have power down where water can possibly maybe interact with it, it's always low voltage.
Yeah,
safer that way.
Yeah, fire is it's a big concern for everybody, man. Especially back in the day. I think it was worse, when people were using HID lights, because they would just produce so much heat.
That was a big fire hazard, those things, because and if something was left on the reflector or near the bulb, it could physically flash off with that amount of heat. But those things, if you had a cooling fan failure, that was also something back with those HIDs. It was physically possible to get a tent hot enough to actually cause some kind of combustion back then in the day if you didn't have enough ventilation in those things. So we are lucky nowadays growing in LEDs.
Yeah, the reason you would see a grow room fire nowadays is because of faulty electrical equipment rather than anything else. There's a fault with the light, or most likely a fan. Fans seem to be the biggest problem. I've seen people have fans before that just like burst into flames, man. People on Twitter and members of the forum as well. So they're the scariest things, I think, because of the constant motion. Always going round, always producing friction in some way. Fans are always a big concern, but you just have to make sure you get a high quality equipment. Don't get knockoff stuff, man. It's just not worth the risk. If it's got a little bit of an electrical fault somewhere, then it can easily just catch fire and set fire to something else, and it spreads, and you're fucked. You don't want
but now, as far as your fans go, though, you have to actually go beyond just looking at your equipment. There, I always tell people, listen, learn the language of your equipment and listen to it, because if the fan starts making a little odd sound,
the fan starts going, well, it means it's fucked.
It's gonna, if it was always been noiseless and all of a sudden you start hearing a little squeak, maybe you want to start looking at that, but it's like, don't just keep ignoring everything and think, oh, it's fine, it's not gonna be bad. The thing's trying to tell you something. Fix it, one of those things. Fix it or replace it. Don't let it die.
Yeah, that's it as well. Don't leave the equipment running for so long, but it does die. These things, they have a certain longevity to them, and when you think that it's getting, I've had that fan for a bit long now. Change it? Just change it.
Well, yeah, you want to buy equipment. All equipment has what's called duty cycle, and that's the percentage of amount of time of a given hour that is supposed to be running, kind of thing like that. If you're going to run it 24 hours a day, it needs to have a continuous duty cycle on it. So your extractor fans, things like that. Make sure you're buying things that are a continuous duty cycle for those. Those kind of things are built to do that. But like a lot of these little cheap plastic household fans that most of us do at some point or other use in our grow, those might not be made for 24/7. So those are the ones you're going to have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Duty cycle.
Yeah, man. Just make sure the equipment's good. And another thing which we've seen as well is people just overloading circuits. The plug sockets in the walls, they're designed to hold a certain amount of electricity. So if you put too much through it, then the wires in the wall can melt and cause fire. You don't want that shit to happen, man. So you have to take these things into consideration as well. I've seen conflicting reports over the internet about how much wattage a plug socket in the UK can take, but it seems as if the 3,000 watts, it seems to be the average which I've seen, but some of them were saying 1,500 watts as well. So I think like for the double sockets it might be 3,000, but you don't, but if it's a single socket then it's 1,500. So both sockets together would add up to it was difficult to find an actual number. I think 1,500 is a good one to stick by, and you shouldn't really push over that much in a single socket. You're gonna have your lights, which necessarily say it's gonna be 600 watts if you're using a HPS. You can push it to that 1,000 watts if you got a big LED. But it's rare that you're gonna get a light to go all the way over 1,500. But if you have two lights and you're pushing them through the same sockets, then that might be a problem. That could be too much load on that particular circuit, and it can cause it to melt and set fire. So just bear that in mind when you get in your equipment and you're adding up how much electrical load it's got to be. Make sure you're spreading it across numerous sockets. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. In the US, you'll have two different situations that I'm aware of, at least multiple situations. Usually in household, most households are either going to be wired with 15 or 20 amp circuit breakers. Newer construction usually has 20 amp breakers in them. Some construction you'll still find 15 amp breakers in it. So in those circuits, if you do quote unquote the perfect math on them, a 15 amp circuit should be able to pull about 1,600 watts, and a 20 amp circuit should be able to pull something like 2,200 watts. I never pull maximum. So my general rule of thumb, just to make sure I never have a problem, is that if I have a 15 amp circuit, I never go over 1,500, I never go over 1,000 watts. And if I have a 20 amp circuit, I never go over 1,500 watts. And that always leaves me plenty of safety room in there.
Well, I've seen a good post here from some guy on Quora. He said it depends on the country and to some degree the equipment. The limit is really in amps or currently carrying capability. If the equipment is 100% power factor, no difference between the phase of voltage and current, then a UK socket of today's standards can deliver 13 amps at 240 volts, which is 3,120 watts. Actually, it can deliver more, but it is limited by the plug rather than the socket. This is why the UK plugs have fuses. EU sockets is a typical 16 amps for a 220 volt, giving slightly more at 3,520 watts. A US normal wall socket will be 120 volts at 16 volts. It must be in amps there, giving 1,920 watts. Although some houses allow 240 volts high-powered sockets with 30 amps for dryers, cookers, and level 2 car chargers. In the UK, these are usually directly wired or used on normal wall sockets. Most systems around the world are similar to one of these, but there are many more plug styles as well as earthed and non-earthed versions. If the power factor is equivalent is less than 100%, then the power limit will be reduced to blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's different amounts around the world, so depending on where you are. And it seems like a lot.
And one important thing that I picked up right there in the beginning of the article, it talked about the capacity of the circuit versus the capacity of the plug itself. And that's a very important factor there, because a lot of times if you're going to have a fire or you're going to have a heat issue, a lot of time it happens at the connection where you plug in the wire into the socket right there, because that's a friction connection between two pieces of metal. If there's any kind of debris, any kind of corrosion there, you get a lesser of a connection, and that's where your heat starts building first.
Yeah.
So by all means, what you're plugging into the wall, that outlet right there, if it looks like it's old, if it looks like it's beat up, if it feels like the plug is loose going into it, replace it. Be safe. replace it.
Yeah, that's it. And we had Cloud in the chat here. It says, ask a certified electrician, please. And of course,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if you're in a position to do that, if you are lucky enough to be able to call an electrician out to your grow room and have them check everything to make sure it's all working okay, then fucking definitely do that, because that's your best option. But of course, doing what we do, it's not always an option. So you have to make sure that the equipment is in good standards in the first place. You could take all your grow equipment down, get an electrician out to check all the sockets to make sure that there's no problems and everything's working okay. And then you can set your grow room up and just don't overload the plug sockets. You know, and we're saying it's going up to 3,000 watts here. So you don't even need to do half of that for just a personal grow, you know, like a 4x4 with good LED and all the fans. Shouldn't really go over 1,600 watts. You got plenty of room to move there, so it's not too much load on the sockets. You just bear that in mind when you want to use numerous lights. You don't want to put too much into one particular socket. Sorry, Monkey, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna, you're fine. Ask a certified electrician. The thing is, we can't do that once we're up and running, but that's definitely if you're getting ready to set up a grow first and nothing's set up yet, and you're just kind of looking at the area, the electrician doesn't have to know what you're putting there. So by all means, you can call electrician and I just need 20 amp socket right here. Bam, tell him where it's at. You don't need to know what's going there. If he asks any question, that ain't his business. You know what I'm saying? You got a refrigerator you're gonna put there or something like that. Who the heck knows? You don't need to know that situation there, though.
And that's a good point as well, because you have these, you know, extension leads, which it's not recommended that you use extension leads with grow lights, especially because it's not designed for that. If you can, then do have sockets put in a specific place. That's the best way to do it. If you can get an electrician out to move a socket to where it's going to be most useful, where you don't need to use extension cables and shit like that, then do that, man. That's a great option.
It's the safest thing you can possibly do. Yes, by all means, that's perfect. Especially if you're running a dedicated circuit to your grow room. That means if anything else in your house trips the breaker, your grow room's going to be fine. You know, that's kind of nice to have that. Your tent's going to still be alive with something else has a problem situation down on that though. That's a good deal.
But that's it. We are here to explain how to grow cannabis in the most simple way possible. We don't know much about electricity, you know. And that's going to be the same for more than 90% of the people who do grow in. So
I do all my own stuff.
Shit. Yeah. You know more than I do about this kind of thing.
I spent some years as an electronic technician, which gives me the basics. I understand what I'm doing, and I have the proper tools. I've got circuit trackers and meters and testers, and I know the rules. Put it that way. So I'm not afraid to do it. I'm not a certified, licensed, card carrying member of the union kind of thing like that, but I have enough information, enough knowledge, and with a little bit of YouTube, if I have a question, if you have some of that DIY kind of abilities and you know what you're doing and you have the right tools, you can do this yourself. But gosh, I would never recommend anybody try it if you feel even the slightest bit uncomfortable. I mean, my kids have never played with electricity. They're afraid of it, but I do it all the time. They've seen me do it 100 times. But if you're not comfortable with it, by all means, don't do it.
That's right. Whiskey Loving Calpy said in the chat here, one of those simple amperage/wattage meter helps to know how much you're loading. It does indeed. It's a good way to do things. You plug your equipment into it, and then it goes into the wall, and it will tell you how much that specific piece of equipment is drawing from the wall. You know exactly how much it is, and then you can write that down, add it all up, and see if it goes over the load that you want for that socket.
Yeah, in the States, they call them, or even Canada, you can get them under the name kilowatt meters, kilowatt. And you can still buy them on Amazon and whatnot like that. And like Matthew said, it's a pass-through meter. You put it in there, it tells you exactly how much that circuit's pulling. And that's a great way to do it. But if we talked about extension cords, now we know that I'll tell you right now that there's somebody out there that says, well, I can't get an electrician in here. It's going to use an extension cord anyway. If you do, overspec your cord, please. It's very important that you get a very heavy cord if you have to run an extension cord. Don't get just, you know, the cheapest extension cord that you can find and expect it to do the job. Go on the internet, and there you can easily search for, you have to take into account two things. If you have to run an extension cord, you have to take in the length of the cord and the gauge of the cord, how thick the wire in the cord is. There are charts all over the internet that'll tell you the safe load that can be handled by an extension cord that is a certain length and a certain gauge. Use that chart. And again, oversize this, because you don't want to be calling the fire department because you made a mistake. But when you add an extension cord,
Yeah.
When you add an extension cord into your circuit, remember I was talking about how your failure point's probably going to be right there at the wall where you plug in, right? Because that's the connection point. Well, you've also added one more connection point by adding that extension cord in there. So that's one more reason not to use it if you don't have to, because you're adding an extra joint in there. And those plugs are the most common failure points for fire.
Jeff Bezos popped in the chat here. I mean, sorry, Savons. Most smart plugs, home automation, will tell you how much you're drawing. Yeah, if you got them, any way you can find out about how much the equipment is actually using up, then that's going to be
that's a good tip. I've got smart plugs and I've never tried that. I will have to look up that.
The timers, because we use timers with lights, of course, and lights, they draw a lot of electricity, especially them HID ones, but the good quality LED ones draw a lot too. So you want to make sure that you have a heavy duty light timer. Don't just get a cheap one. If you go to Lumi have a good one which is made specifically for grow lights, so it can take the load without there being any problems. It's not going to melt in the wall and set fire to something. So make sure you get good timers as well.
What you just said, though, is actually what does happen with a cheap timer. If you open your tent and you start smelling plastic and something nasty, you could be melting your timer, because if you put a underrated timer on a big light, it's happened more than once. It will melt. Right.
So you want to make sure that all the equipment you're using is in good standard. It's not just a bodged up piece of shit with wires hanging out of it. It needs to be in good condition, and that will reduce the risk of fire there as well. Avoid overloading the circuits with too much power. Take that into consideration when you're setting up the grow room. If you can get an electrician out to make sure all your electrics are running fine first, then you should be good to go. Just don't overload the circuits there. So yeah, what else can we?
And Savants was talking about he was talking about safety ratings, and these will be different all over the world. But in the United States, we have what's called UL rating, Underwriters Laboratory, which is basically saying that it's been tested till failure, and when it fails, it won't usually set a fire off, or not supposed to be, do that kind of thing like that. But the problem is with grow equipment, so much of it is made all over the world. I mean, half of my grow stuff does not have UL rating on it because it was manufactured in some other country. And, this hobby is kind of like a fringe out there, and it's not really being watched as closely. So be careful when you're buying this quote unquote cheap Chinese stuff. It's sometimes dangerous stuff.
Yeah. That's right, man. Be careful of that shit.
Yeah, man, good stuff. Always stay with the good stuff.
We used to have the kite mark. This little tinging sound there, like there's coins tapping or some metal or something. I think it's coming from your side. Do you keep hearing that?
I don't hear anything tinging.
Oh, right. It's like I don't know. It's like a chain clinking. Just a small chain. My imagination. Maybe it's my imagination. Did anybody else hear it? I don't know. It's the ghost of Christmas past.
I have no idea. I'm going like, what? I'm going to have to go back and listen to the recording now after this and see what it is.
Yeah. So there's a certain equipment you can use as well, which is going to be risky shit. Stuff that some people would use in their grow rooms and stuff that I would not. Like heating fans, for example. These fans that turn on, produce some heat.
Yeah.
I just don't like that, man. I'd rather use an oil rad,
You're talking about the resistive heaters, the ones that glow slightly orange and blow the fan.
Yeah. God damn, imagine having that just sitting there in the grow room. Jeez.
I actually use those in the wintertime underneath fruit trees if I get a real cold spell, and they always make me nervous.
Outside, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, if I burn the damn thing down, I just kill the tree. It's not going to burn my house down, at least, because I'm always worried about the thing falling over or something like that.
And of course, they give off light as well, and you don't want that in your dark grow room.
Very good point. Yeah, it's dim infrared, but yeah, it could actually do something to you long term. I wouldn't use those if you have to. I've heard also, I don't know, again, I don't use heaters in my, standalone heaters because I'm in a climate controlled building that I'm doing this in. But I've heard that those are very inefficient too, those resistive heaters compared to like the oil rads and things like that they cost a lot to run.
See, Type 1 can hear it. He said it's some type of audio artifact on Monkey's end. Not too bad, though. He said it's definitely something. Can you not hear anything? No, you see, nothing happens when you're not talking.
Okay, try. I readjusted something to see if the artifact changes.
The artifact. Oh, it's getting worse now. You just hit your mic or something.
Yeah, I did, but I'm moving things around to try and see if I can
Mm.
isolate it. That should have changed something, Matt.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it has changed. Otherwise, we would have heard a clink by now. Yeah, I'm having a spiritual awakening. Yeah. So what was you talking about there? Yeah, the type of heaters you can use and stuff. You know, heat mats are good. But you just have to make sure that these are in and stay in as well. So you get it in good condition, but wear and tear happens over time. So just be careful of that. You know, if there's any damage to anything that produces heat and it can potentially set fire to anything, don't fucking use it, man. You know, don't be too cautious with these things. You can't be too cautious with these things. Just if you think it's risky at all, don't use it.
When we all started doing this hobby, you probably were like me, trying to get into it for as inexpensive as possible because you weren't really sure what's going on. And sometimes you might make these mistakes starting up, thinking like, oh, this will get me by. Don't take the risk. It's not worth it. Mackie said it. He said it perfectly. Get the good stuff.
That's right. Yeah, and of course, when you're using these heaters as well, heaters tend to draw a lot from the wall as well. You know, you're getting like a 1600-watt heater sometimes with these oil rads, things like that. So remember to add that shit up with the equipment that you're already using, and don't put it through extension cables, man. Just put it straight through the wall. That'll be the best thing to do. And if you are using extension cables, just don't overload it. Only use that for a few fans or something. Don't put too much in it. You know, if the extension cable has got 4 sockets in it, only use 2 of them. You know, don't use the whole lot, and don't put extension cords into extension cords. That's not cool either. And if you have wires that are too long, don't coil them. You know, leave them laying out flat.
Exactly. Extension cords, especially. That's something that's a great way to put it because that's a common thing. Like some people may have like an extension cord on a reel or something like that, or keep it coiled up around their arm, and they only use so much of it, and then throw the coil behind the tent and just start using it. That coil, it builds up a magnetic charge in it that actually retards the electricity. It's an inductance and builds heat in that coil very fast. And over time, it can cause that rubber to burn. So do not do that. Guarantee you, if you go back there and feel that coil, it's going to be warm to the touch. That always makes me nervous. I've done it too many times, too many places. Not nice.
So let's say you have everything all set up and everything's all good, and you've had all your equipment tested, everything's sweet, you got no problems. There's just certain things you can look out for as the grow is going on that could be a sign of an electrical issue arising that wasn't there before. You know, it's just happening now because wear and tear, things happen. You know, so if your lights are flickering or any faulty equipment isn't acting the way it's supposed to act, then that could be an electrical fault, which could eventually turn into something that could become a fire. So you have to be careful with that kind of thing. If your lights are flickering, then try and figure out the source. You know, don't just leave it there thinking that it'll be okay. Because in worst case scenario, it could set fire because it's faulty. It's not working properly.
The same goes with your fans. If you notice, your fans are surging that when they shouldn't be, cutting in and out, that kind of things like that. Yeah. That means you got a problem. Don't ignore it.
And strange odors. You know, if you can smell something burning, there's an electrical smell, that ozone kind of smell. Yeah, be careful of that kind of thing as well.
The ozone smell that you're talking about, that's going to be an electrical arc somewhere. That's yes, will produce heat, not good thing. Another one is kind of a smell of hot plastic, kind of a smell. That means you probably got an electrical component somewhere that's overheating somewhere. And then there's the infamous transistor of the famous smoke that comes out of the transistors. You know that smell. You know, if anybody's ever fried anything electronic, it's very, very, very recognizable when you open the tent. I worked in the electronic industry for several, many years. I only say several, many years. And those smells are very distinct to me. When I open up any place, I'll go in a house, go anywhere, immediately I smell it. It sets every alarm bell. Like you should never smell those hot smells, ever.
Yeah. So if the breakers keep getting tripped and things like that, there's going to be a reason for that. Try and find out the problems. You shouldn't get that very often if your electrics are in good condition. You just want to make sure that you have a good, the plug sockets and the wires and the walls and the circuit board, all that shit. If that's all in good condition, then the equipment you're using for a personal grow should be fine. You shouldn't really overload too much. It should be able to handle it, but just be cautious anyway.
Mhm.
It's the best way to
Always,
be, you know?
yeah, keep your eyes and ears open and your nose too as well in the tent. Those will usually point out any potential electrical problem that you're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, you know.
Look out for plugs that get too warm as well. You know, if plugs are getting warm in the wall and things like that, that's a bad sign. Usually something's wrong if that happens. So
Mhm.
keep an eye out for that as well. There's probably too much load being pulled through it or something.
Yep,
Just
that's
keep
the
an eye on
place
that
you're going to
kind of
have the
shit.
heat first, right there at the plug, right? Put your hand on it. You'll know.
Yeah. Well, what else is you know, and address any of those when they come up. Fire extinguishers, man. These are gonna. If there is going to be a problem, it might be an electrical fire, but there's different ways fires can start. There's like an all-purpose fire extinguisher you can get that can deal with the electrical fires and flammable liquids and paper and shit like that. And
Mhm.
you can also get them so they're automatic. And there's two main ones which you can get, which produce powder. You'll put powder into the grow room and put out any fire that's there. But of course, when you use the powder one, it's going to get across your plants as well. And if they're in flower, and even if they're not in flower, it's gonna fuck them up to get all of this. It's better to have them destroyed by the powder than the fire. So it's better to have them there anyway, just in case. And then if something does happen, you would have lost the plants anyway. So yeah, might as well lose them to powder. But there's also another type of fire extinguisher. It's a little bit more pricey, but that one releases gas. I think it releases CO2. Yeah,
It does.
and that puts the fire out and doesn't damage the plants if the plants haven't already been damaged by the fire and the smoke.
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
these fire extinguishers, they have like a heat thing. Even when it gets too hot, it breaks, and that's what sets off the thing. So it's completely automated. So if you need peace of mind,
Mhm.
then get on that shit, man. You get a couple of those hung up in your tent, and if there ever is a problem, then it's going to be automatically sorted out by this equipment.
Yeah. If
Hopefully.
price is not an option, if price is not a problem in, I had to choose one of the two, I'd go with the CO2 if I had
Mm,
to. I don't have that in my grow room. I do have the dry chemical ones sitting around in case I do need them. I hope to God I never have to, because if you discharge a dry chemical fire extinguisher into your tent, you're going to have to completely clean that tent top to bottom, lights, everything, because powder gets everywhere.
yeah. And another thing as well is putting too much strain on equipment. With your extractor, if you haven't got proper intake ventilation for the extractor fan, then it's gonna have to work harder to pull air through it. So putting that extra strain on the fan is not what it was designed to do, and that can put extra friction on it, which will build up heat, and eventually it's going to cause damage and potentially cause a fire. So be cautious of that kind of thing as well. Don't put too much load on your equipment. Make sure that they're
Yeah.
only working, a nice gentle pace. They'll last longer and they're less likely to cause fire if they do break.
That's the monkey do strategy. Oversize the equipment and work it half as much. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what most of my tents are built that way. Like, yeah. Who runs a 6-inch extractor on 0.49 square meters, I do, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to run it, but maybe 30%, and it
Yeah,
runs
yeah,
forever.
that's right, man. And it's quiet.
You can't even hear it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is obviously for mostly indoor grows as well. That's what we're talking about here. You're going to have all these electrical things set up while you're indoors. But is there any specific things you can think about for outdoor grows, Monkey?
Safety as far as electrical goes, I mean, only thing I would think about there is if you're trying to do any kind of light supplementation or situation like that, then you're going to have to deal with electrical and lights and outdoor. In that case, you're going to have to make sure everything is spec for outdoor use, wet use, and that's the whole new ball game that I'm not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that we do. I mean, that's like doing Christmas lights almost, but
Yeah.
we're going to be doing this with high intensity LEDs and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Different
think
rules.
You have to be cautious when you're outdoors as well. Like just leaving things across the ground, like the hose, the rake, the wrong way up. You've seen all the cartoons.
Yeah. Actually, I don't, the person I actually know a person who stepped on a rake like that, and she basically said, "Well, the picture of her foot wasn't very nice. It went through her foot, didn't come up and hit her in the face.
Oh, savage.
It was worse. You would have
Okay.
rather the smack in the head, but she ended up with 2 holes in her foot.
Yeah.
So yeah, by all means, that's just one example of things go wrong sometimes if you
Yeah,
don't
man.
watch what
Yeah.
you're doing, man.
You just have to be safe, and lift with your back. No, that's wrong. Don't do that. Lift
If
with
it's
your
too
knees,
heavy,
everybody, not your back. You know
if
when
it's
you're
too heavy,
moving
get help.
heavy,
Yeah.
fucking pots around, and when you're setting up the tents and shit like that. Try not to overexert yourself and pull a muscle and do yourself injuries. Because we talk about electrical and fire safety, but there's other ways you're gonna get hurt in the grow room if you're not careful. I've fucking pulled my shoulder before, laying on the ground, twisted up around all the pots and the fucking plants, just doing scrogging, trying to train a little bit at the back of the tent. You have to squeeze for everything, twist around. It's like I don't even think I can get out.
Mhm.
It's just so easy to pull something, and just be careful, man. Be careful. Lifting the heavy bucket, because I fill up a DWC bucket, a 20-liter bucket, who put nutrients in it. Then I have to carry it from the bathroom to the grow room, and it's not light. If you pick that up incorrectly, it's gonna hurt your back, man. You have to be careful of these things. Just take that into consideration as well. The last thing you want to do is injure yourself or damage your property because you're growing cannabis. You want there to be minimal detrimental impacts whatsoever. The only detrimental impact you really want is your electricity bill is going to go up a bit. That's it. Everything else should be fine. And
Could be.
it works out. It works out for the better.
Yeah, because you get a little bit of electricity bill and you get a lot of cannabis for it. So you end up with a profit side of that. I don't know. Should we talk about? I mean, we do have situations for if you're talking about safety, we have chemicals that we are using in the grow room, and I guess normal safety there would be, eye protection, things like that. You cleaning your tent, make sure don't splash the bleach in your eyes, or even the vinegar. The vinegar will blind you or burn you,
Man,
but it'll sure hurt.
Don't mix pH up and pH down together. That is a fucking violent chemical reaction. Everybody, be very careful there. And you brought up eye protection, Monkey, which is a good one. Man, these LED lights, they're fucking bright nowadays, and they can damage your light. They can damage your eyes. So if you have got sunglasses, you can get the specific ones. You can get them from HLG. HLG have light sunglasses that you can wear specifically for their light. So get a pair of them, man. They're like 15 quid or something. They're not expensive. And you'd rather keep your eyes protected rather than damaging them every time you go in the grow room, because them lights are bright, man. They are fucking bright.
I remember getting headaches from the blurples back in the day. Those were the worst. I hated those things.
Yeah.
So when we switched to full spectrum whitish lights, much less headache, but I still won't look at the boards. I always look down, won't look up.
So when it comes to safety in the grow room, it's more than just electrical and fire safety and shit. You got to think about, your physical safety as well. Making sure there's no wires laying across the ground that you can trip over,
If you're mixing nutrients, don't splash the stuff on your eyes. If you get it on your hands, go wash your hands.
That's right.
Little things like that. One thing I do a lot of is I do reverse plants with silver thiosulfate, and that stuff, if you get it on your hands, doesn't really burn, but let's just say it doesn't really feel good on my hands. So wash it off. If you get it, gloves might even be usable if you're sensitive to those things. Be aware. Just take precautions. Some people are sensitive to. I'm not particularly, but some people are very sensitive to the contact of the plant on their skin. They get rashes. So in those kind of cases, you want to use some kind of a grower sleeve or long sleeve shirt. I've seen people break out in hives just from rubbing against the side of a cannabis plant. So if that's one of your things, or if you're noticing some kind of a thing, maybe that is one of your things that you don't know about yet.
Yeah. Yeah, man, some good points. What else is there when it comes to safety? Of course, we have the safety of just following the 3 rules, but we're not discussing that kind of thing in this episode. You should already know to follow the 3 rules. It's important. That's how you keep your grow room safe. But when it comes to your safety, that getting the high quality equipment to make sure that it's not fucking faulty and it's not just going to set on fire because it's a cheap piece of shit. You know, get the good stuff, man. Just for the peace of mind of knowing that it's the good stuff. Don't use too many extension cables, and definitely don't overload them. Take note of the draw that you're pulling from the walls and from particular sockets, and make sure that they can handle it without there being any issues. Just these each little thing you can do to make sure that it's safer is gonna prevent something bad happening even more. And the more you can reduce the risk, the better. Not only because it reduces the risk, but it offers peace of mind as well.
It does. I'd rather be safe. I'd rather be over safe
Mm-hmm.
than have to deal with the problem. So very important with that.
For hydro growers as well, somebody mentioned, yeah, I think we have something in the listener mail about it actually, about if there's a flood, if you get a flood, if you're running in hydro and there's a shitload of water that leaks, you need something in place to make sure that if there is a leak, then it stops all the equipment, which you can do with some automated sensors and stuff.
I think it was Savans that had that. Yeah, he had a water detector sensor in his grow. And that was what he would use like that. I have a little different situation. I mean, I've also thought of a situation. I do cocoa grows, small tent, 2 plants. So when I'm off for a week or two, and I've got an auto watering system set up, and I got 10 gallons of liquid and a timer and a pump and all this stuff set up here, pump ready to pump into this tent, and you're nervous as heck. What if something goes wrong? So when I do that, my catch basins are bigger than my reservoirs. So if my pump failed, or if I screwed up the timing and everything went into the tent all at one time, it would just basically end up in my catch basins. My plants might or might not be standing in a little bit of water, but it's not going to be on the floor, and I can deal with it when I come home. So I thought past that. That's the water damage thing. Like, okay, well, how am I going to deal with the water if something goes wrong? That was my answer.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that's pretty much. I mean, you say everything covered, but there's always more to this, and you can always go into more detail. Just don't underestimate how important safety is, because you don't want to realize that you should have been more safety conscious after the fact. When things are burnt down, like, fuck, I should have got that fire extinguisher. Shit. I shouldn't have left that extension cable on the floor next to my DWC bucket and its pump.
Yep.
I shouldn't have put them 2,000-watt grow lights through that one plug socket in an extension cable. You shouldn't do these things. You shouldn't do it after the fact, man. You need to know beforehand that things can potentially go wrong, and just try your best to make sure that it doesn't.
Yeah, we've all made mistakes. I know the worst one I ever made, I was watering a scrog, and I was doing it with a rigged up pump on a reservoir that I would use a manual switch to turn on, and I'd hit one bucket, could turn it off, then go to the next pot over there like that. And I thought everything was cool, so I did it correctly. I got all the containers watered, and then I wasn't even thinking what I was doing. I turned off the switch so the pump wasn't running, and I set the hose down in my tent. And what I didn't realize was I still had a siphon going. And before I knew it, I had 4 gallons of water in the bottom of my tent. It was a scrog in mid-flower. So you can imagine, it was a nightmare. So yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You get the vacuum cleaner out, you lift, you pull, and you never make that mistake ever again.
And as I said, I water using a DWC bucket, and on a DWC bucket, there's a little pipe that goes up the side of it, a little green pipe. And when I mix up my nutrients, I'll bring it in, feed the plants and collect runoff. Sometimes I'll leave it sitting there with the air stone, and I'm just pumping through it. And I've had it before where I've put it there and gone to do some work, and then I've stood up, like a half hour later, I've stood up from my chair, and as my sock has socks, Billy. As the sock has touched the carpet, it's fucking soaked. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is that? And I've looked over at the DWC bucket, and the pipe on the side had like tilted onto the ground, and the hole for the pipe is at the bottom of the bucket, so all the water's just poured out and just spread across the fucking carpet, and it started dripping through to the ceiling underneath. It's like, oh, fuck's sake.
And you never do that again, do you?
It happened once after that as well.
Oh!
But no, I don't use the same bucket now. I use a different bucket. That's not gonna, you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, Fool man
still
can't get fooled again.
What you got fooled again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't listen to any advice I've got. Everybody, just I'm not a good example most of the time.
He talks a good game, but it doesn't always work out.
Yeah,
That's the
it.
problem.
That's it.
It is.
I know what the right thing to do is. Whether I do that or not is a different story.
We're only telling you these things because we want you to realize we're human too. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, that's right, man.
We've all done it once or twice.
Yeah, it's like I grow pretty nice cannabis and decent amounts of it. And it's not like I grow small plants.
And it's
But
not like
I'm
I've
so
never made
laid
a
back
single
with absolutely
mistake.
Fucking everything. Oh yeah, man, so many mistakes. And that's it.
Yeah.
Just over the years, you figure out what a mistake is and what a mistake isn't. And
Yeah.
the big mistakes, you don't want to learn those ones because it's just fire and trouble when that shit happens. So just be careful, man. Be careful.
Well, truth be known, you never stop making mistakes. You just make them less often.
Yeah, and you don't worry about them so much when you do make them.
No, as you get more experience, you just kind of keep on moving. You bounce back faster. So that's what I do. Just mistake can't stop you. You just got to keep going.
Shoddy Fusion said, "It's okay to eat fish because they don't have any feelings." What a tune! What a tune, by the way. Yeah. You didn't say because they don't have any feelings. But, George Bush says, "I believe human beings and fish can coexist together peacefully." That was his quote. You're quoting Kurt Cobain, Shoddy Fusion. As I heard a joke the other day, everybody face out, trigger warning.
Uh-oh.
What do Michelangelo from the Sistine Chapel and Kurt Cobain have in common? They both painted a ceiling. Ba-boom. The savagery. God damn.
Oh, jeez.
Savage.
Your weekly bad Mackie joke.
Oh, no, but it's good. If you understand, it's good. It's a good joke. It's a savage joke. But yeah, great album, man. One of the best. Whenever I've got thousands of songs on my phone, like most people have, my whole discography. And anytime a live performance of something comes on, I skip it. I don't like listening to live music when it's not live. It's recorded live. That's cool, but you gotta be at the place and experience it live. That's the real feeling of live music. I don't like listen to the imperfections of live unless it's live. I like studio albums, except the Nirvana Unplugged, man. Damn. I mean, MTV Unplugged with Nirvana. Damn. It's just amazing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, everybody, then you need to go check it out right now. You need to go check it out, man. It's the performance of Kurt Cobain and the whole band, but the performance of Kurt Cobain specifically in that concert, that just that small concert, is just phenomenal. It's like he knew that was going to be his last performance, so he made it special. Damn, yeah. Nirvana Unplugged. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. Anyway, random tangent, as we do.
It happens.
Mm-hmm. But that's all the information you need on safety. If you have any concerns, just like everything else, from growing cannabis to making extracts to getting seeds to electrical and fire safety, anything. If you have any questions at all, need any advice, you know where to find us over on percysgrowroom.com, the Cannabis Growers Forum. You should all be a member of it already. We have quite a few listeners of this show, and it would be sweet if we could get all of you, or everybody who listens to the show, as a member over on the forum and getting involved in the community. It would be even more of a busy, bustling place than it is already. That would be sweet, man.
Mm-hmm. We are a busy, bustling place these days. I mean, I've been watching stuff come up over there. Lots and lots of traffic over at Percy's.
Yeah,
lots of new members
now talking about Nirvana. God damn. Makes me want to go listen to that album, man. Where Did You Sleep Last Night? That performance of Where Did You Sleep Last Night? Oh my God. There's and Shiver as well. That's it, and it's because he said Shiver at the end. We at the end of the Where Did You Sleep Last Night? Listen to the original as well. The original was made in like the 1920s. That's haunting too. But you can see how captivated he is by the emotion of the song and how involved he is in that song, man. He has so much feeling towards it. It's a next level performance. Damn. You know, you don't see performances like that. I mean, you got Freddie Mercury at Live Aid. You know, that kind of just iconic performance of an artist. You know, when he's warming up the crowd with his vocal exercises, just fucking, you know, just a next level frontman. Is that performance there in the in that fucking in the MTV Unplugged? It's artwork, man. It's artwork. Everybody needs to go see that shit. But anyway, I digress again. Look at me go. Jesus, or maybe I'm a little stoned.
God, Jack, you got you rolling there, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, let's do a couple of the listener mail questions. Let's do that.
Let's try that.
Where are we? I'm gonna find the show notes here. Yeah, we've only got a couple of questions here, and I think they're to do with electrical safety as well. Twisted asks, how can I determine the maximum safe electrical load of the room I'm using? I have two 4x4s on a separate circuit, but I also have a 4x4 area I'm using with the existing house wiring. You know anything about this, Monkey?
The question is, how can he tell how much amperage he can pull? I think.
How can I determine the maximum safe electric load in the room? Yes, I think he's how much can he pull from the wall without there being a danger.
I can only tell you how I would do it. I would use a circuit tracker. Is what it's called. Basically, you plug in a radio device into the plug, go back to your circuit breaker, and trace your outlets back to find out what feeds what. That's going to give you an idea of the capacity of the breakers in the room. Use that to figure out your maximum amperage for the room. But I would have to, for me, I would have to trace back the wiring into the breaker box and see physically whether I'm running 15 or 20 amp circuits and how many of them I have in a room. For me, I know that because I wired this room, but if you don't and you're starting to grow, it might not be a bad idea to have your outlets labeled so you know. Because it's very common to have, you may have an entire wall that's all on one circuit. And if you try and run two 4x4s on that, well, it might make it, but it might not. So it all depends what kind of equipment you're having in there. So I would definitely have the room checked, do it yourself, have somebody else do it either way. I mean, if you're an easy way to do that, I use a tracker because it's fast, but you can physically use a voltmeter or even an electrical power cord and switch off one breaker and then go to, plug an electrical light in each socket. Okay, what's dead, what's not. You can tell what was on that breaker that you flip, turn it back on, flip the next one, do the same thing like that. That's the hard way and the slower way of doing it, but it is very effective. You can then label each outlet what breaker it corresponds back to, and that'll give you an idea of what capacity you have in each area. Complicated, but it can be done.
You can get an electrician out to check that kind of thing, right? Is that going to be possible?
Yeah.
Twisted, he's a legal grower, isn't he?
He's a legal grower. That'd be the easiest thing to do. You're a legal grower, and the electrician has nothing to say about it. Bring him on in. But where I'm at, it has to be done by me. But no, if you're in a legal area, anytime you're in a legal area and have an electrical question, call an electrician if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think that would be the best thing to do, because that is getting a bit much though when you're getting onto the third 4x4. Then that's with the lights being pulled through it. I mean, it's probably okay, but if you just want that peace of mind,
what I usually do,
checked out by pro.
Well, when in my tents, basically I add just everything that's in the tent should have a label on it telling you how much either wattage or amperage it pulls. But I go through everything, add it all up on a list. That's theoretically how much that tent is going to pull. Theoretically, because sometimes those values are plus or minus a certain percentage, like 10% or something like that. Yeah. You can't always count on them 100%, but that should get you into a safe ballpark. That's one way of doing it. The other way, of course, is to use that kilowatt meter on that tent and decide how much it pulls. But I mean, it is possible that you may be running a 4x4 on 600 watts. Who knows? If you got a 400 watt light in that tent, yeah, you could use 200 watts worth of ventilation and that kind of stuff if you're not running a heater. It's possible to put 2 4x4s, but you're going to have to check it. Make sure you check before you do it. I can rattle it off in my head all day and all night, and it may not make sense, but basically what I'm saying is have an electrician check if you're not sure yourself.
If you're in that position too, man, that's the best thing to do. Get the fucking professional to look at it. Yeah, it's good for the local economy as well. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, I don't even like messing with things on my car, man. Never mind electricity. It's not like I don't know what I'm doing. I know to some extent what I'm doing. I know how to rewire a plug, for fuck's sake. You know what I'm saying? I can change a light bulb. I can change a pretty mean light bulb.
Yeah, but we have all different levels of expertise out there in our viewership. You know, even at Percy's, and some people we actually have electricians at Percy's that are members. Those guys are not going to have any problem at all doing this. Then you got people like me that are, you know, handyman kind of guys that know a little bit and feel comfortable good enough to do that. Then you have people who are not comfortable with it, and those definitely are the people who are going to make the phone call. But yes, some people repair things and some people don't. There's no shame to that.
You know, I just had an electrician out last week. You know, I had to take everything down. You know, make it look like I don't even know what cannabis is. And then an electrician came out, checked all the plug sockets in the house to make sure they're all working properly with no problems and shit. So I know I'm good to go as long as I don't overload sockets. I know I'm okay. You know, you just gotta stay safe with the electrics, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we were in Oregon visiting my daughter, they made a comment about how much they hated their bedroom light, overhead light. So I kind of casually said, "Do you want me to fix that for you while I'm here?" They were going to call an electrician, and this is literally a 10-minute job from something you buy at the big box store. But the illustration that I'm saying here is that they were not comfortable doing that, and they would have rather paid an electrician to do it. And that's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If they felt safe and they could sleep better at night knowing it was done correctly, call an electrician. If you feel that way, call an electrician by all means.
Yeah, blokes like us from Monkey, we're from a different time, man. We would have done this shit ourselves, you know.
Well, I mean,
out, you know.
Listen, when I first started growing cannabis, you couldn't call anybody and ask questions. It was one of those things, you know. So you had to do it yourself. One of those.
That's right.
But I also came from a family when my dad didn't believe in paying people to do things, so he taught me all that other stuff too. Oh, you got to learn this, you know, one of those things.
It's like that South Park episode, isn't it? The people who know how to actually do things are all billionaires. No one knows how to do anything. How many Mackies to change a light bulb? Asks Matt. Just
hopefully one. Yeah.
Just takes a long time, you know?
Yeah. Maybe
stop asking me. I said I'll change it. You don't have to ask me every 6 months.
So maybe two. One to go get the light bulb, so they'll have it to change when he's ready.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a good question. Good question. We have one more. Yeah, I hope that answers your question there, Twisted. I think I would get it checked out by the electrician because it's just so much. If it was just 2 4x4s, then I'd be like, yeah, that's probably cool. When you're heading into 3 of them, it's a lot of wattage. So we have one here from Savans. He says, and those of us with indoor water parks, and I think he means hydroponics there.
He does.
We may not have to be connected with the overload. We not have to be concerned with overload. It's spelled wrong. I'm not sure what he means here. We not only have to be concerned with the overload, is probably what he means. So I'll go again. And those of us with indoor water parks, we may not have to be concerned with overload, but water and electricity don't mix. Home automation is nice. As soon as a leak is detected, all pumps and power shuts down, and all my mobile devices sounds like World War III is happening. Oh wait, it is.
Yeah.
Nice touch there on the end, Savans. Nice.
Yeah, I saw his post. He actually has a home automation system set up.
No, right? Do you see that? Fuck.
The smart system with a water H2O detector at the bottom of his tent. So if he has a leak,
it's like,
it shuts everything down.
It's like, no, my machines do it for me.
and then sends him a text to let him know something's wrong, and blows up all kind of alarms and everything else. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Good idea with that. That's a different way of going with it. I never thought about using the water detector thing. Might actually have to look into that. I know you don't have to have those smart ones either. You can just buy the kind that actually starts screaming alarm if it senses water, the kind you would use in a basement or something like that. So that's not a bad idea. But so far, my idea was to just make sure that my catch basins are bigger than my supply reservoirs are. But that's a good idea, what he's got there. Very good. I like home automation. I was
this
a late
automation shit's
adopter.
cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I was a late adopter, but I put the automations on my light controllers. And I really love that now because I can be anywhere and check the status of what my lights are doing, things such as that. Found that the AC Infinity controllers, the communication when you're not not actually on your own home network, can be a little bit more complicated at times because of security issues. But home automation lets you check anything. And that's nice. Really nice.
It's pretty cool. And especially you just got to watch what things are labeled when you're connecting them to your Wi-Fi. If your neighbors are close enough and they can see Grow Room Fan 1, Grow Room Fan 2.
No, mine's called GT1, GT2. So GT, they won't know what the hell that is.
Nice. Yeah, man. The automation thing's fucking cool. Just and it's getting cheaper. It's getting cheaper all the time, isn't it? The technology is becoming easier and easier to get hold of, which is cool.
Yeah, man.
But I think that's everything for the grow room safety that we've covered there. And as I said, you can ask questions over at percysgrowroom.com if you have any questions or concerns. And that is also all of the listener mail questions as well.
Yeah.
One
little piece of grow room safety that I gleaned from Shanti Baba that I think I'm going to start making sure that I actually introduce as animately as possible. I know we always say no tell, no sell, no smell, all that stuff like that. But he said something that I really appreciate. He says, if somebody doesn't have any business being back there, they ain't going back there. Period. End of statement. Don't show your girl off to anybody or that kind of stuff like that. Just be safe. We're talking about grow room safety. Let's talk about grow room safety altogether. If somebody doesn't need to be around there, they don't need to be around there. You'll be safer.
Billy's getting upset there in the chat. Look, he's getting upset.
What about my question? Oh my gosh.
Do you want to know what Billy's questions were? Okay.
Go ahead. I read them. I read them.
Okay, we'll quickly cover these. If you had to shoot one of the Changas in chat to keep the stream on air, who would it be and why? Even if it was not to keep the stream on the air, Billy, I'll definitely shoot you, bro.
I think it would be Candyman and go eat sheet.
Oh, right, yeah. I hope you're listening. God damn. Yeah, so there you go, Billy. There you go. What, because he has many of these, what Chanka, and for anybody who doesn't know, Chanka is the people in chat. It's like chat wankers. This is a term of endearment that Billy made up for all of you guys a long time ago. And it seems to have just stuck from the hash club Chanka, as he calls himself. Anyway, what Chanka in chat would you invite over for Xmas dinner and why? I'd invite everybody over. If I had the resources, if I have like fucking millions in the bank and shit, I'd be like, yeah, everybody come to my house. We're having a session. I'm going to get a hash on. I'm going to have some infused turkeys and shit. Marge is cooking for us. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be this shit. Everybody's welcome. Live show with the audience here as well. That would be fucking awesome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. That'd be great. But if I could only invite one, it all depends who harvested most recently and had the best tasting weed,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to pick one, I mean, there's too many.
That's a problem.
Good session, man, with everybody. How many hours would it take to shoot the Chanka you invited over for Xmas dinner?
Shoot him?
Yeah, so would you've had enough of him? Us English folk, we have guests, and after about an hour, it's like, isn't it time for you to go?
I didn't think y'all could shoot people over there. I thought it'd be more like stab, but yeah.
Well, you can. It's just, it's illegal,
Well, it's illegal here too. That's the problem,
Yes, so they were the questions from Billy, everybody. So now you can see why I didn't ask the questions from Billy.
And the disclaimer is we do not advocate violence whatsoever. So there you go.
That's right. Unless it's against like spider mites or something. And
yeah. Otherwise, the laughing we do is to make fun of the fact that we have to even deal with that question.
Yes. So there we go. Good questions, Billy. Thanks for the effort. But that's everything. That's all grow room safety. Just stay safe out there, everybody, man. The last thing we want to hear about is anybody being fucking hurt or their property getting damaged because they had some fucking grow room fire and shit. Just be careful, man. Be careful. Don't
Hmm.
underestimate how important it is to just follow the simple guidelines to stay safe electrically and, with fire. Just be careful, man. Be careful.
Yeah, well, remember, fire is only half your problem with electricity. The other part is, if you've ever been bit, you don't ever want to get bit twice by electricity.
Mm-hmm.
I've been bit several times. When you work in the field for a while, it happens.
Man,
And
when,
man, I hate it.
when I was a kid, I don't know, I must have been like fucking 10 years old, maybe. I don't know. I was young, maybe even younger than that. But I remember going into my bedroom and my brother was there and he's like, yeah, Mackie. Obviously, he didn't say Mackie, but just as
Yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
example. So I've gone over and I'm the younger
Oh,
brother, a couple of years
you're
younger.
not you're not Maggie?
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah. Secret, but but then he's like, yeah, I take this, and he gave me a little pin. You know them things where it's like 1,000 little pins, and you put your hand in it, and it leaves the shape in all the little pins. You know what I mean?
Oh, the pin box. Yeah, the pin
Yeah,
board, pin box. Yeah.
yeah, and you could put your face in it, just put it on things, makes it shape. It was
Hmm.
super cool. I had one of those, and it took one of the pins out of one of those, and he's like, yeah, put that in there, and points at this fucking plug socket, an extension cable on the floor, and I didn't know. So I was like, okay, and I put the fucking pin in the plug socket. Yeah, fucking wise decision that was, and it just like, man, the pain it wasn't even pain. It was weird. Being electrocuted is a weird sensation, man. It was just like a massive jolt. My arm just flew back, and it was like, what the
Yes.
fuck was that? I probably didn't
It's
say that
it,
because I was only young, but damn, man,
it's
yeah.
painful. It kind of has a vibrating
Mm.
kind of clamping feeling. It's
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird.
no, I know exactly what it feels like. No,
It's not cool, yeah.
no, not
It's
at all.
oof.
I remember my first fear experience with electricity was my younger brother. There was an electrical outlet right next to where his bed was, and one morning he was down there playing. I don't know what the heck he was doing, and all of a sudden there was a huge blue flash and smoke come up, and he had this big black burn on
Oof.
his ankle. And I just kind of thought like electricity jumped out of the socket and just caught him. I didn't realize that he was down there with something pushing it into the socket, trying to figure out what was going to happen there. And
Damn.
he ended up just getting hit by the flash as that piece of metal was literally vaporized instantaneous on him. It
Oh,
scared the hell out of me, but it took me years to realize that electricity doesn't just jump out the wall at you like that. I just thought like, oh my God. So you can imagine for a while, I was
damn.
deathly afraid of that stuff.
Getting more stories in the chat there as well. Adam says, being hit by 220 twice.
Uh-huh.
Worked in the trades for about 5 years. 220 holds onto you. Damn. Damn.
Yeah, I've hit by 220, not actually by hitting it, but actually by tapping it on the back of my hand or something like that. And it's,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah. Billy says Xmas lights got me, threw me about 3 feet. Backblast says I once put my tongue on a 9-volt battery. It was horrible.
yeah, I've done that too. And I have to say that still grosses me out to this day. I won't do it again, ever.
Mm.
I don't like that at all. Some people
Ma-
think it's like, oh, that's so cool. I hate it.
No, you can actually cause heart attack doing that.
What,
It's not
9 volt on
recommended.
your tongue?
Yeah.
Uh,
Apparently, that's
it
what
used to
I've
be a dare
seen.
when I was a kid. I dare you to
Mhm.
lick this. I mean, everybody had to do it. It's like, ugh, I don't want that.
Yeah, Mad Dog says I have been zapped a few times. It happens. 240 volts is mint. Are you like one of those guys who likes to have his balls stamped on or something, Mad Dog? What the fuck? 240 is mint. I love it. I just like to stick my fingers in plug sockets and be like, yeah.
Yeah, those higher voltages up there, if you latch on to them, they can physically cause you to clamp on and not be able to turn loose.
Hmm.
It's really bad.
Man, I've
Nothing to be
seen.
messed with.
And we're about to wrap this up, everybody. We won't carry on for much longer with these terrible stories. But
That's
I've
right.
seen videos on the internet in the past where, like, the guys in India, they all getting on top of the trains. They all climb over trains and stuff.
Yeah.
And the guy stood up, and his head touched the wire with the electricity running through it,
Oh,
and it just fucking fried him,
I
just
guess
like
so.
dead.
It's like
Just
1200 volts
zap.
or
Oof.
something. It's pretty high. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, Mad Dog says no thanks with the balls. Are you sure, bro? Are you sure? You know. No, I don't. People are fucking weird, man. Some people like that shit. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why anybody would want that to fucking happen. Jesus, Jesus. But, you know, each to their own. Each to their own. You know, I've seen them videos on the internet too. You know, the internet has revealed so much about the world to me. Shocking. But I think that's everything, right? We done here with the safety. We've all give you lessons there on why you don't want to get electrocuted, everybody. God damn.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not fun. Definitely don't want to play with it.
So be careful. Stay safe out there, everybody. Let's go to the outro. Look at that. Did it work? There's no extra music playing.
I don't know.
It's just no. I think it went down well that time. I think it went good. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that professional there? Look at that. Fuck, you know. And we even press record this time. They're professionals. Look at that. Yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate you being here, spending your Sundays with us. I hope you learned some things. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you enjoyed the news and the grow guides and all that. I'm sure
Maybe had a
Margie's back
laugh
next week.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking next week will be the last Sunday, won't it?
Yeah, because we got the big day coming up, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, for the normal show, but I think we will do maybe a special Christmas session on Christmas Eve or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens as time get closer. We don't know the schedule of things.
Looking at some other podcasters maybe joining us on that one, so keep your eyes open. We'll let you know.
Yeah, we want to make sure that everybody has a good session with us around the Christmas period. You know, having a good time. We like that shit. So, yeah, keep an eye out for the streams. We'll let you know as soon as we know more and all that kind of shit. Is that everything? I think it's good, isn't it? I think we're good to go. Don't forget to check out, you know, previous episodes. Just go and download some episodes, everybody. We like downloads. How many downloads are we on now? Let's have a lot. Let's have a quick look. 670,000 downloads, everybody.
That's good, man.
Yeah. Well, it won't be long until we're at that million. Say another year, and we should be on 1 million downloads.
$1 million.
$1 million. Classic movie.
Yes, it is.
I was trying to watch The Hunt for Red October yesterday. Didn't get through too much of it. Well, is it a good movie? All the ratings say that it's good, but you can't trust them nowadays.
I liked it. Yes, I've seen it several times. I liked it, but you know, I'm a Sean Connery fan. I do like him, so you know.
A Russian Sean Connery.
Well, yeah, you got a Russian with a Scottish accent the entire time. If you can't get past that, do not watch it if you can't get past that. It's going to be there. Because, I mean, his accent is so thick and he doesn't even try to hide it. You just, you know, it's kind of like I used to tell my kids all the time when he used to come up with that. Well, that's not really real. I said, all right, you came to the movie. You just have to want to believe. Mm-hmm. Go from there. So, yes, he's a Russian with a Scottish accent.
I've been meaning recently, I want to watch like one of my kids are getting older, you know, so you start watching the more classic films with them. And I either want to watch The Green Mile or Saving Private Ryan with them. You know, there's some epic movies, man, but they're long, like 3 hours.
The Green Mile, these are all, you know, Green Mile is definitely an adult subject matter. If they're old enough to handle it.
Yeah, that's it. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, that's a powerful movie, and the acting was really good in that one. Saving Private Ryan, I wasn't as you know, I liked Green Mile more. I think I don't know why it struck me more so.
Yeah, speaking of those two movies, Tom Hanks in both of those. Tom Hanks has been in the news recently. Have you seen that?
Probably. I don't know which one you're referring to.
They were saying he was on the flight manifesto, but apparently that's all just rumors and speculation. There's no evidence to say that he was on the flight at all.
Right.
I like Tom Hanks back in the day. He's good movies, man. Like Castaway and shit. I love Castaway. It's a good movie.
Big Castaway. Lots of them he did. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But anyway, we digress. This isn't a session. This is a show. So we'll let you all go and do your thing, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, what's left of it, and stay high and stay safe throughout the week. And I'll keep you informed of what we're gonna do with the Christmas sessions as the times approach over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for the news with that. Turner and Hooch, you know what I'm saying? Backblast shit. It's one of the reasons why I won't watch films with dogs in. That movie.
There's a lot of movies that happen in though, man. A lot of movies, you know.
You can't watch a movie with a dog in it. I can't do it. Yeah, it's been a pleasure as always, everybody.
It's a really old movie that about dogs that would I guarantee if you ever watched it, it would tear you apart. It's called Where the Red Fern Grows, about a boy who gets hunting dogs. Oh my God, that would tear you up, Mackie.
Oh no, I don't know. Yeah, man.
It's kind of like an old Yeller movie, but it goes in a different direction, maybe.
Backblast says can't do that one, Monkey. Yeah, it sounds like a movie I should avoid at all costs.
Yeah.
Back on the show, I'll be like, I can't believe what they did to the dog. No.
Yeah, any movie that bonds such a strong, forges such a strong bond between the animal and the owner, there's something. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? It's going to rip your heart out one way or the other when that happens.
Yeah, not doing it. Yeah, man. So have a good week, everybody. We'll see you over at the forum. Don't forget to download the episodes this week, and we'll keep you informed of the streams that are coming up over Christmas.
Yeah, by Percys. Drop by Percys and see the ugly avatars.
Oh yeah, do that because there's some cool.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Very much so. Yeah.
Right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. See you later.
Yeah. Let's find out.
Let's put 2 on at once. Let's do it.